Hello, hello, hello. Overwhelm is caused when the stress response continues to go. We become overwhelmed. We start feeling it in our bodies, in our minds, and it's difficult to function. That's how we know that we're getting close to burnout. Well, we're going to talk about today three under the radar self care practices that abolish overwhelming stress. And we're going to get to it in just a moment. Hi, hi, hi. Welcome to Stress Talk with Marcyline. This is where we help women over the age of 40 to live healthy lives through strategic stress management and solution focused self care. Today, we're going to talk about some of those solution focused self care practices that you can take in order to lower your stress levels, boost your energy, feel healthy in a way that fits with you and fits into your lifestyle. I'm Marcelyn Bailey. First and foremost, I welcome you again to Stress Talk Live with me. I ask you, though, that to do me a favor. I'm going to ask you to like, follow, and subscribe to ML Bailey Consultants on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, I want to invite you to subscribe to our newsletter. You're going to find it at this link. I'm making some changes. We're under construction. So you're going to see some new things coming from me. And I want you to get all of the good stuff that I have for you because I honestly want you to be healthy. Not only physically healthy, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually as well. And I'm taking you on a journey that's very similar to the journey that I'm on because I'm on a journey of health. And I believe that health begins with low stress levels. It's very hard to live a healthy life if we're constantly under stress and if we're constantly feeling as if we're in that fight or flight mode. It also takes a toll on our bodies. Our bodies wear out, it just takes a toll on us. It increases all of those things that cause harm. Too much of a good thing is bad. And stress, while it is good and while it does help us to maintain and to do things and it can act as a motivator, too much of it causes harm. And so that's what we're here for. We're here to help you, again, live a healthy life through strategic stress management as well as solution focused self care. Today, we are talking about, I don't know what we're talking about. Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm looking at I was going to put the topic on the screen, but it's last week's topic that I have in here. So I won't put it on the screen because I don't even want to have to change the way I'm sitting and configured to type it. However, our topic for today is three under the radar self care practices that abolish overwhelming stress. Now, I call these under the radar because they are. They're practices that we don't even think about, we don't even consider when we're talking about self care. And as you know, when I talk about self care, solution focused self care, that is, I am talking about self care that solves a problem. Self-care that fits into your life as well as your lifestyle. I know, I got my nails done. Well, I did my nails last week, and you can kind of tell they need to be done again. And that was me taking time for myself. And it was really nice. It was relaxing. I did my nails and I loved how they felt and how they looked. But it's only temporary. I mean, like I said, I did them last week, but look at them now. I need to do them again, right? That type of self care only lasts for a short time. I'm talking about self care that solves a problem, provides a solution, as well as is sustainable. When I talk about strategic stress management, I'm also talking about sustainable practices that fit into your life and your lifestyle that you can do that lower your stress levels. So let's get into our topic, 3 under the radar self-care practices that abolish overwhelming stress. Now, when I'm talking about this, I want you to just take some notes. Feel free to comment, you know, help yourself. Comment. I'd love to hear you, even those of you who are on looking at it on the replay or listening to it on our podcast, our Stress Talk podcast. Okay, let me get to my notes here. All right, here we go. Okay, so one of the things I'd like for you to keep in mind that as we're talking about this topic, the under the three under the radar self-care practices, I want you to think about yourself. I've been reading a number of studies that are being conducted, have been conducted, and are being conducted as it relates to the superwoman schema. And there are researchers out of the University of North Carolina, University of Michigan, or Michigan State as well, university, who are looking at superwoman schema, particularly how it relates to African American women and how we access healthcare and healthcare opportunities. And in looking at the superwoman schema, what they've determined is that there are certain things, there are perceived obligations that Black women have that cause us to be under a tremendous amount of stress. And I want to share those things with you. First and foremost, Black women perceive that they are obligated to project strength. That means that in any situation, we have to be strong. We cannot show our vulnerabilities. We cannot show our weaknesses. This is in our homes, in our communities, and very definitely in the workplace. We cannot show that we are struggling. We have to project strength. We have to be the rock. We have to be the pillar. And it is a perceived obligation that we have. And again, it's in our homes, our families, and our communities. The next one is that we suppress our emotions. We don't show how we feel. Now, if you encounter a Black female in certain situations, you may encounter us and we have a stony, stoic expression. That is because we cannot show how we feel. There's a lot that goes into that, and I'm not going to take the time to explain it or try to share it. Just know that Black women feel that they can't show their emotions. There's also, as I said before, a resistance to feeling vulnerable and dependent on others. We don't want to depend on anybody. We want to depend on ourselves. Um, that's just how we feel. And it's a lot of how many of us were raised. We were raised to take care of ourselves. We were raised to not depend on anyone or anything um, for subsistence, but we were raised to be able to take care of ourselves and our families and our loved ones. Also, we also prioritize caregiving over self care. So we're going to take care of other people before we take care of ourselves. We're going to put our needs on hold in order to make sure that the people that we care about, the people we love, are safe, stable, and secure. And finally, we will strive. If we have a goal or desire, we will strive to achieve that goal or desire, even if we have limited resources. We figure out a way to do it, even with limited resources. Now, what this essentially means is that we are under a tremendous amount of stress from the environment in which we live, tremendous amount of stress that we put on ourselves because of these perceived obligations. And you can say, well, you shouldn't do that, but it is what it is. We carry a heavy load as Black females. We do. So when we're carrying this load, we are carrying of um, the burdens of life, and you will hear that there's a phrase for that. It's called the allostatic load, and the allostatic load means the amount of stress that we carry as a result of living. It's basically just the burdens that we experience, the burdens that we carry by virtue of being alive and being a Black female. The thing about the allostatic load is that we don't always have what we need to meet the challenges that we face on a daily basis, which increases the amount of stress that we carry throughout our lifetime, as well as the load. It's like it just compounds, it just piles on, it's constant. I wanted to give that background because I think that it's very important as I'm going into the three the three practices that I want you to know about. So I'm going to get into that and I'm going to share them because I'm halfway through my 30 minutes for today. The first thing that I think is very important, particularly for Black women who are carrying this heavy load and who need to really hone in on solution focused self care. First of all, we need to dump our penchant for striving for perfection. We are not perfect. We can't be perfect. We will never be perfect, no matter how hard we try. But we do have this thing about perfection. We want to present an image of perfection. And yes, there's some there's history around that, behind that. But we need to dump it. We're not going to be perfect. We need to accept that. And we need to accept that whatever people perceive of us, whatever opinions others have of us, it is not always born in truth. And we have to be okay with that. But we can't strive to change their opinions of us by trying to be perfect in everything that we do. Perfection is one of the things, striving for perfection is one of the things that causes us to feel the need to project strength, especially in our families. I can't tell you how often I work with women in my practice, and they come in um, because they've lost a matriarch in their family. And they say to me, they were the strong one. And I saw them. They were like the rock, they were the pillar in our family. And that's who I am now. I'm the pillar. I'm the strong one. I'm the one everybody comes to. And we say that as if it's a badge of honor. Well, sometimes it is because we've made ourselves available to others, to listen to them, to encourage them, to give them suggestions, to give them the wisdom of our years. However, like I said, too much of a good thing can be bad, because sometimes when we say, I'm the strong one, we say it in a way that if I am not strong for the moment, if I show vulnerability in the moment, then I am not perfect. And therefore, I am not projecting strength. And therefore, I am a failure. What we need, however, is to just be honest about our needs. We have to be honest. We can't continue to carry everybody's weight. We can't continue to just keep it moving, even when we're hurting, when we're in pain. We can't continue to move on when we need to just be still and mindful. We need to be able to admit it to ourselves and be honest about it. Not only that, we also need to clearly express our needs to others. Yes, there is vulnerability that goes with that. We are vulnerable when we're saying, hey, I need some help. The thing about it is, that's when we get to know a few things. We get to know who is with us and supports us. But we also get to teach others that it is okay to ask for help. We need that. We need that. We need to be able to do that. So, projecting strength is part of that striving for perfection. Okay? And we have to be careful. We have to be honest about our needs, and we have to clearly express those needs. Also, we need to express self compassion. Compassion is seeing a person's struggle and being moved to alleviate that struggle. Seeing a person's pain and being moved to alleviate that pain. We need to act on that for ourselves. We know our pains, we know our struggles. We need to work to alleviate those within ourselves. In order to do that, sometimes we have to create space to do that. Sometimes we have to step away from our obligations, our perceived obligations, and we also have to be in the moment, being mindful of the moment, taking a breath. My husband said that his grandmother used to have a phrase saying that she would use, blow breath. I just need to blow breath a moment. Sometimes we need to blow breath a moment. We need to take a moment for ourselves. And sometimes that moment is amounts to a few seconds, and sometimes that moment is a few days. But there are times when we need to separate so that we can extend self-compassion to ourselves. Are there any questions, any comments? Please post them in the comment section, because I'd love to hear what you have to say, or in the chat section. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And that invitation is open again to those of you who are watching live, as well as those of you who are watching via the replay or listening to the podcast. So once we dump our penchant for striving for perfection. We need to also rest. I hear so often, I can't rest. I have to keep going. I can't stop. If I stop, then everything falls apart. Well, if that is the case, then we've not done our job as strong women. If we are the only things holding up the world, if we're like Atlas, the only thing holding up the world, we've not done our job. We have not taught our loved ones and the people around us, even the people in our work environment. We've not taught them to use their skills and their abilities effectively. And so that's something that we need to learn. We need to learn to delegate. We need to learn to teach, and we need to learn to rest. Rest is not just a physical action. I'm not just talking about sleep. Yes, we do need sleep, and that sleep, what, 8 hours? Some of us need more than that. As we get older, we need more rest than we did when we were in our 20s. I can remember being a 19, 20-year-old, 22-year-old going out and partying, partying, coming in at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then getting up and going to work and not being tired. Just going on adrenaline, I guess. Now I have a set bedtime, and my body feels it when it's close to that bedtime. I have to get in bed so I can get my sleep, restful sleep. So sleep is important, right? And we need to get at least 8 hours, and some of us need more. Take it, enjoy it, bask in it. Get a good mattress that feels good. Nice, comfortable sheets. Turn the temperature down a little bit so that it's cool in your room. Use some lavender or some other soothing fragrance that will help you to calm yourself. Turn off those electronics 2 hours before you go to bed. Yes. And if you have to have the electronics, put a blue light on it, blue light blocker on it, so that it doesn't disturb you, because we need our rest. So yes, sleep is important. But I'm also talking about taking a break from physical exertion. Are you constantly moving? Are you constantly up and doing things? Take a break. Get off your feet. Rest. Allow your body to go limp. Not just fall on the floor, but sit in a comfortable chair and don't do anything. Just don't do anything. Just rest and relax. Allow your heart rate to slow down. Allow your breathing to slow down. So, yes, we need physical rest. We also need mental rest. We want to take note of when we are overthinking things and when we are ruminating on things that cause us distress. Do you do that? If you do that, pop it in the chat. Just say, yes, I do. I think about certain things over and over and over again. I know that I do. There are times when I can't get things off my mind, and I have practices that I use to do that, to move forward. So we need to rest mentally as well as physically. So, what's the third thing that we need to do? Those that we don't think about because it's under the radar. The third under the radar self-care practice that I'm going to share with you is a gem. Support without enabling. I just wanted to let that sit there for a moment. Support without enabling. Maybe I need a drum tap. There you go. Okay. Yes. What does that mean? Well, actually, what it means is that we will encourage problem solving. So, remember, I said a little bit earlier that we've not done our job as women if we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, meaning that we are not only carrying what we're responsible for, we look at those perceived obligations and we continue to do things for our loved ones that they should be able to do for themselves. So we want to be supportive to them without enabling them. That means that we want to teach them to use their problem solving skills. And if they don't have problem solving skills, we want to encourage them to learn problem solving skills. So, how do we do that? We engage around the facts of the situation and we don't take on the emotions around the situation. That's one of the ways that we encourage problem solving. We don't take on the emotions that they're feeling. Think about when a loved one, say your son or your daughter, comes to you and they're like, oh, all hyped up because something has happened. The bus isn't coming. The bus isn't coming, and I have to catch the bus. You don't take on that emotion. You just help them solve the problem. What is the problem? You need to get to your destination at a certain time. Okay, well, let's look at what is happening currently. The bus is not coming. Okay, so what can you do in order to get to your destination at a certain time? But you don't take on that frenzied emotion because when you take on the emotion, you also take on the problem. I'll say it again. When you take on the emotion, you take on the problem. You become responsible for the problem. What you want, though, is to have them solve the problem. You don't want to take it on. You don't want to take care of it. You want them to. The next thing is you don't want to assume the burden to fix it. So you want to engage them in the facts of the situation. You don't want to take on the other person's feelings and emotions around the situation because then you're going to assume the burden to fix it. You want them to fix it. So again, encourage problem solving. That's one of the ways that you support without enabling. The other thing is when you're talking about suppressing your own feelings and emotions, you don't want to suppress your feelings. You want to verbalize your feelings in a way that is assertive. You don't want to be passive and you don't want to be aggressive. You want to be assertive. So, when you're supporting without enabling, it's okay to be assertive about it. Use I statements to express how you feel. That's a good assertive way to express your feelings about they're bringing their problem to you to fix it because that's not your job. You want to support them, but you don't want to enable them. What happens when we suppress our feelings? What happens when we are passive? What happens when we communicate in an aggressive manner? Well, essentially, we're concerned about what others are thinking, what our families are thinking, and we're thinking that our feelings don't matter, but they do. They do matter quite a bit, actually. So we want to support our loved ones without enabling them. So we've been talking about the 3 under the radar self-care practices that abolish overwhelming stress. We talked about dumping, striving for perfection. We talked about rest, getting adequate rest. And we talked about support and supporting our loved ones without enabling them. Again, why do I consider these under the radar and why do I consider them self-care? Because they're solution focused. They solve a problem and they are sustainable. These are things that will fit into your life and your lifestyle. They become a habit once you practice them, and they become natural after they become a habit. Well, I'm Marcyline Bailey. I'm so glad that you joined me today for Stress Talk with Marcyline. Again, sign up for our newsletter because we're under construction and you're going to see some brand new things coming out. Lots and lots of great content that I think you're going to enjoy. Well, that's all for now. Join me again next week, same time, 7 p.m. on Sunday. Marcyline Bailey, as always, take good care.